the life cycles of a business. And I want you to see, where are you in this life cycle? I can teach this in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And Annetta, this is your fault that they're about to get blessed.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay. So the first phase is when you launch your business. You launch. So at some point, I launched Circle of Champions. At some point, Annetta launched Speak with Ease. So you go through the launch. The second phase is survival. When you first launch a business, you've put a lot of time and money and effort into even being able to launch, because it takes some money and some effort to launch a business. And usually, unless you like a $1 billion company launching a new business, you're in survival mode for a while, especially all the entrepreneurs and speakers out there that are working from home, or you're new to the business. You're going to go through that mode of survival. Look, I just want to be able to keep everything going, keep my house paid for, keep my rent paid, my car note, all my bills, and make enough money to maybe one day, if you're not working, if you're not self-employed yet, to work for myself. So that's the survival mode. Okay, the next phase is growth. At some point, you want to see your business begin to grow. I remember when I started here in my basement, and at first we started out and the room would be pretty full, but it got to the place where we could no longer hold the events here because there were too many people trying to get in. My cul-de-sac was jammed up with cars. Neighbors were complaining, but we were growing to the point where we had to start doing events in hotels. Well, think about this. When I was doing my events here, I didn't have to pay the overhead at a hotel, and hotels are not cheap. I didn't go to the libraries. I went straight to hotels. So now I have a new bill, but business was growing. I was making money, started making 6 figures out of this basement. And so growth. The next phase is expansion. Expansion is different from growth. This is when you start hiring the people, you start building a team. Maybe you want to get an office somewhere. You begin to expand. Maybe you want to open up a location somewhere else. So you're going through expansion. And entrepreneurs always think expansion. So you want to be looking at what's next. If it works here in DC, maybe it'll work in Atlanta. If it works in Atlanta, it'll work in New York. If it works in New York, it'll work on the West Coast. And if it works over there, it'll work on the moon. You want to start thinking about expansion. The next level is maturity. Your business will reach a place of maturity to where it can actually function even without you. Now, in the speaking arena, a lot of us are the brand, but I've hosted seminars where I could leave the room. Annetta could hold it down. Fred could hold it down. Other people can speak and hold it down. I don't have to be there. And so maturity is when your business reaches this place where it's like a baby that's grown up. It's 18 years old, get its own license, pay your own bills, get your own food. That's when it reaches maturity. But then something interesting happens around maturity. I'm checking my time to make sure we're good. And we are. We end around 8:15 tonight. So just keep in mind, your life and your business is going through phases. So some businesses that were in an expansion stage, their expansion stopped because of COVID-19. It leveled out. And what happens after this? Saturation. Saturation. That's where we are right now. The market is so saturated. Whatever it is you teach on and speak on, there are lots of other people doing it. So the question is, how do you set yourself apart? Facebook is saturated with people that can go on Facebook right now and go live. You know, we don't have a lot of people probably viewing this right now because there's 10,000 other events going on right now. But thank God for replays. Thank God that we're creating a product right now. Don't worry about who's watching. Go Facebook Live and create your product, or go Zoom and create a product, because your product now, with a little editing, if you want to do that, that's something else now that you can offer later. So saturation. The next phase is decline. Nobody likes this, but I can promise you this, folks. You can see this You can see it in churches. You can see it in businesses. When you reach that place, you hit your high score. Ooh, is that it? And then you start seeing decline. You're not getting as many people coming anymore. Not as many people are signing up for your events. I've seen this happen to big, giant companies. Annetta, you know the things that we saw in 2007 and 2008. And we could name
people, 1,500, 1,800 people in a room.
And we saw that it declined for some to 800 people from 1,800. It's a tough place to be when you have been doing something for a long time. And I'm talking to somebody right now, including myself, right? When you've been doing something for a long time and you reach that place where things were like blossoming and blooming and growing, and it was easy to make money. And man, all you had to do is show up. Now you're having to work for it. Now you're having to grind for it. Now it's not easy anymore. You've reached that saturation and you hit that place of decline. And it's tough. But it's what you do next when you hit that place of decline. And the next is innovation and reinvention. And that's where some of you are right now. That's where a lot of us are right now. COVID-19 forced us into a place of innovation and reinvention where we have to reinvent ourselves. For some of us, it's even a different path that we need to go down right now. We're going to need to do things that are different than what we ever thought we were going to do. And as far as generating and jumpstarting your business, like somebody asked here, think outside the box. Don't just think, how can I sell a product? Start thinking a little bit different. What do I need to do? And I don't care if you have to take your idea. We used to do what's called a wild idea list, where you write down 20 different ways to make money. Only 2 of those are really going to be really that good, but you come up with something out of there. So in reinvention and innovation, and those are the phases of a business. And Annetta, you're responsible for people getting that because of something you said. And it's really powerful.
You're welcome.
Because you know what? You can identify probably where you are in that. And if you are in the reinvention and innovation stage, then it's okay, let's roll up our sleeves. So I'm coming out of my share screen now. And I think by default and by external forces, some of us are there. So Annetta, recap a little bit. What did you gain, or what could you recap on what I just shared that could help somebody?
No matter where you are, there's a next phase. And the last phase is always start over, do it differently, take another path, build on what you've done before, offer it in a different way. So what I heard at the end especially is the end is just a new beginning. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There was a book that was written a few years ago called Who Moved My Cheese?
I remember.
By Spencer Johnson, about these 2 mice who were used to the cheese being in the same place in their little maze. And one day it was gone. One of the mice complained, the cheese should be here. It's always been here. We knew where it was. This isn't fair. The other one's like, you can stay here and complain. I'm going to go find some new cheese. So you got to find some new cheese.
And for my Christian brothers and sisters, which I know you're out there, always remember, he is our source. Everything else he uses is a resource, but he is our source. I've lived by that for almost 40 years. And every time, and I'm telling you, God taught me something about this. He said, son, don't get locked into any one way that I will provide for you. And he let me know that I would get in trouble if I do that, because the reason is that everything he uses is a resource, and he may use it for a while. He may use it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And there might be a time when he's finished with it and he's about to open up a new stream. Elijah, go to the brook. And Elijah went to the brook and he drank from the brook. But the scripture says it came to pass that the brook dried up. And it sometimes brooks will dry up in our life. And now we have to be listening for what's the next direction. He said, get thee to Zarephath, because I have commanded a widow woman to sustain you there. So your blessing sometimes is a lateral move. I have to go and get my blessing somewhere else. I have to go do something else. And so some of you might be there, whoever that's for, just know it's challenging for all of us, but we want to make you think outside of the box a little bit so that you don't just dig in and say, I'm going to keep doing what I've always done.
And sometimes the hardest words for you to say are, I need help.
True.
But
True.
that's where the beginning, that's where the new beginning is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?